Good evening and welcome to the Town of Selma Appearance Commission meeting for February 28th, 2024. It is 6 o'clock. We do have a quorum. So we will start with the approval of the minutes. So take a moment, read over our minutes from our last meeting, and I will need a motion and a second to approve. Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor to approve the agenda? Not the agenda, the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next thing we need to do is approve our agenda. So I will just need a motion and a second to approve our agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Ms. Lacy, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, our first business item is a request for a certificate of appropriateness for 107 South Rayford Street. Do we have anybody here from 107 South Rayford Street? Yes, sir. Megan, do we swear in before we open? Yes, okay.
Just for me. Yes.
And then Laura, do you swear or affirm as well?
I do.
All right, and I will need a motion to open the public hearing for 107 South Rayford Street.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
It's all yours, sir.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Thorpe with A.R. Thorpe Architect. I am representing the owner of the property, Michelle Lincoln of Lincoln Property Investments. They're wanting to do a renovation of 107 South Rayford to add 2 apartments to the upper floor of that building and develop the lower floor as a commercial space at some future time. The main reason we're coming before the board is to get the exterior approved so that she could do the apartment portion of the project first. And the main thing she wanted to address is changing the color of the building from what it currently is. It's painted pretty much a brick color now, and she wants to change that to a blue paint color, and that would be both on the front of the building and the rear of the building. The other thing she wants to do is to make some upgrades to the exterior of the building, doors, windows, some for performance, some for look. Since we were here we were here in January and presented. There was an approach for the front of the building. After we had that meeting, we decided talk to her, and she wanted to make some updates. And so that new information you should have, and the basic concept now is blue exterior painted walls, and all the doors and frames are going to be black. So it's no longer, we had previously had wood as a potential exterior finish, stained wood. We don't want to do that anymore. It's really just going to keep it simple with going with aluminum storefront system to replace the glass that's at the front, both at the lower level and the upper level at the arch windows. So black frames there. And in the back, there's a rear door that would be painted black, at least one rear door, and also put a window that are going to be adding to the back. That's also part of the new elevations that we resubmitted. So those were the changes from last month, but there were issues that had been raised relative to what was going on at the rear of the building. And just to reiterate, the goal for the apartment entrance was to introduce a new front door at the storefront levels, not there now, obviously. But that's something that several other buildings, adjacent buildings have. 102 Rayford has that, 105 Rayford has that, 111 Rayford has that. So we're asking to have that front door added there so you can get to the upper level. That's her preferred option. If that wasn't allowed, we had prepared the initial submittal to have a rear door to get to the apartments. And that's what brought in the issue of having to have some security for her apartment dwellers. So there's a fence system that was on her portion of the property that she owns. She owns the alleyway between this building and the adjacent building here on Anderson. And we're going to introduce a gate here on Anderson and a railing system around the back. And there was a question that had come up as that had been brought forward, whether we could do that or not. So again, the main issue for us is if we can get the front door, then the rear door is probably not something we're going to necessarily pursue for apartment access. So the only other thing I want to add relative to what's been mentioned is that we have two exterior balconies. We're calling them balconettes because they're not full balconies. Off the back of as I said, there's two units upstairs. The back unit is going to have two very small balconies that extend out about 2 feet from the rear wall. And there'll be French doors that open to the inside, so it's just enough to maybe have a chair out there. And those balconies would also be done in a metal, there's going to be a metal system painted black to match all of the new windows. And the issue with that came up is the way her property is, she controls a portion of the rear wall in the alleyway, but then there's a portion of the alleyway that she does not control, and one of the balconettes extends over that. And so we were asking whether that would be allowed. So, and I believe that's really all the items that we were looking to get approved. Paint color on the walls, the windows and doors on the lower and upper floor on the front, and in the back to be black. Glass would obviously be clear, and then the rear balconettes.
Thank you, Mr. York. Laura, did you have anything you needed to present?
Since this is a carryover item, there's not necessarily anything I needed to present. Usually the basic introductory information I've already given you, it's in your staff report. The only things that's, a project like this will go through a couple of different reviews. Obviously it's in a historic district, so it's going through your review first. And then later we'll look at it from a zoning permit standpoint. And I always kind of want to respect those processes. But if I ever see something that could be a problem with zoning that would potentially send this application back to your review, I want to point those out. So I'm not trying to muddy the water or get the cart before the horse, whatever expression you prefer. But just as a preliminary matter, the only things that I see, one, and this is not a historic issue, this is a CB zoning preference. The UDO does not allow metal or aluminum in the trim unless it's going to give a wood appearance. I think that verbiage is in front of you in your packet. And then the other thing is a density issue. I have this feeling that GIS is a little bit off, which it can be. GIS is telling me that this is a 0.08 acre lot. And in that instance, it doesn't meet the minimum for 2 dwelling units. But if the owner has a survey that is stamped that gives us a more accurate acreage and it's at least 0.1 acres, then that issue goes away.
Laura, are you able to address, his question about whether the balcony would be allowed?
Is as it relates to whether it's extending over a right of way or not,
Correct.
I don't have the information of whether or not it is in the right of way.
Chief, do you know if that balcony would extend into the right of way? Mm-hmm. Um, the windows that are going on the back of the building, looking at the back of the building, it looks like there were windows there previously that were boarded up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with those, the windows that are sketched on here, would those be going into that same space?
Yeah, the idea was to remove what had been bricked up, blocked up, and put in new windows.
Right.
To-
Okay. Questions for Mr. Thorpe?
Just the door in the front.
Questions you have about the door in the front?
Were the ones he stated to have the front door, an additional door. Do they there? Or is this gonna be added on to the
So her question was, will this door be added into the building on the front?
Yes.
So we would be changing the facade of how it's currently built.
Yes.
Does that apply to the windows in the back also?
Repeat that?
Does that apply to the windows in the back?
Yeah, the one window on the lower floor that you see is not there currently. So that's something that she wants to have the option for a retail tenant who would be taking over the lower space to be able to have that. So that's part of just the commercial space. She doesn't have a tenant at the moment, but she has a vision that someone who would take that space may want to use that back area in that way and want to have the ability to add a window.
But those were existing, they weren't added.
Are they just for show? Is the big window just for show?
The one in the back?
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
How would they get to it?
Well, I think part of the thought was, and again, I think it's part of her having the maximum opportunity to lease the space to, whoever it might be. It could be a restaurant, for example. So the thought was that maybe they would want to have some access maybe back there, to have that visual connection. And so it's not that it's been defined exactly how it would be used, but it's more of trying to make that space as attractive to someone who's renting it to be able to open it up. Because I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that the city has something that they're doing in the back alleyway. There's a few other things that are happening back there. So, it's part of just, there's the front sidewalk, which you really can't use, but some of these back areas could potentially be used a certain way.
So there'd be two doors, one on one side of the gate, one on the other?
If the front door wasn't allowed and we had to put the apartment door in the back, then we would have to have two separate doors. One would go to the retail tenant, and then we would have to have one for the apartment. So that's what the renderings show. That shows the alternate approach of if we don't get the front door. get the front door, we wouldn't be doing that rear door or any of that security, fencing and gating and stuff.
So my concerns, I think the color, should fit, but the change in the front of the building, I think it does go against, what we have laid out for the historic district, just changing the general style of how that particular building was structured. As far as the gate is concerned, I think that inhibits public safety. People are waste services, different things like that people won't have access back there. So I do think putting a gate up is not a good idea. And as far as the aluminum, Laura mentioned that if you do aluminum, it needs to have a wood look. And it looks like, just from the images, now granted they're computer generated, but from the images, it looks like it would not. It would be just a matte or a shiny finish, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve, now you're saying that the new door, the front door needs to sit like it is.
The front of a building in the historic district needs to stay kind of keep that original integrity. And removing that display window and replacing it with a door would completely change the front facade.
I agree.
McCoy, did you have any questions? Does anyone else have any more questions for Mr. Thorpe? Would the owner be willing to modify these plans to better fit what the historic district is looking for?
Well, we can investigate window systems that look wood-like. I think there was a performance issue that we would have to look into, because that was a concern. But if I know from experience, there are some aluminum systems that do look wood-like.
Okay.
And if part of what we're getting at here is that you want something that has a wood look that's not just one uniform color and matte, we can look into that and figure out how to achieve that. I wouldn't want to make that a limitation, but I think it was more like, we don't want to be just restricted to a literal wood framed condition. That's a sort of a different approach. So we'd be willing to investigate that and provide that as needed.
Okay. As far as the back door, the windows, the balcony, that sort of thing, those you would also look at doing the same type of wood looking finish.
We can look at that, yes.
The front door, would that be an entrance to the apartment?
Well, depending on, because I'm not sure, if we're not allowed to do the front door, then it sounds like we're only at one level allowed to do a rear door. And I guess part of the thing is the door is fine, but the security gating is not fine. Okay. So we'll have to look at that and determine. Right now, based on what we proposed, the apartment would be in the back. And so the front door would still just be used for the retail tenant, but just review it.
And I know the last time we talked, there was about the front signage. There was going to be something in that space. Is that something she's not looking at anymore?
She would prefer to take, right now what's up there is just a wood, it's just a painted, it's like a plywood sign background. And she would prefer to take that off, expose all the brick, paint everything blue, like the front facade would be painted blue. And if a tenant moves in and needs to put a sign up, we would probably require them to do a sign backboard and letters on that and mount it to the building. And we could handle that, as a separate submittal. That'd be like a signage submittal or something. But that's the approach now, is not to salvage what's there, but just to turn the whole facade, front facade, back into brick.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, I need a motion to close. Wait, I need to accept testimony first, correct? Okay. a motion to accept, all the testimony that was submitted by Ms. Oxley and Mr. Thorpe.
I motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye. And now I need a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing.
I second.
Motion went by Jeanette, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so, based on kind of what we're looking at and as far as the ordinances that we have and the rules that we follow with the historic district, my suggestion would be to continue this, so that, 107 South Raper Street wouldn't have to reapply. If they can make some modifications and changes and then come back and represent, would be my suggestion. Motion by Ms. Jeanette,
Second.
second by Ms. Florence. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. All right, next, we have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for 307 North Massey Street. Is anybody here? You here for 307 North Massey?
Yes.
Excuse me, North Massey Street, yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Megan will swear you in.
Just me. Yes, I do.
I need a motion to open the quasi judicial hearing for 307 North Massey Street.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Jeanette, second by Ms. Lacy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Take it away, sir.
I was looking to set up a fence. Also recently, due to the survey, that was done or conducted, I had additional footage on my deed, which I was suggested by my attorney to if I could fence it. The issue was that I didn't know that it was historic and I needed to apply for the permit to get approved. Not looking to change anything, just improving the fence and fencing, just normal fencing, nothing in particular besides that.
Okay. Ms. Oxley,
Yes, ma'am.
if you've got anything, we're ready.
Okay, just a quick background. This is zoned R10. It's a private residence. As the applicant said, the request is for a wooden fence. Actually, I think he's answered the main staff concern that I had. Looking at the survey, I wasn't sure if this is a situation where he was claiming unclaimed land, or had purchased some land from another lot, a budding neighbor, but it seems like he's just had an updated survey. It's not reflected in GIS yet, so we can talk offline with the property owner and try to help him get that updated. But that's an in-office issue. The only concern from a staff standpoint that we had was just trying to understand who owned the land, and I think he's clarified that for us.
Yes, ma'am.
Laura, real quick, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Laura, you're talking about in the packet, that blue line that's been highlighted, that would be that unclaimed land that the survey said was part of your property?
Yes, it's noted on the deed. It says, and additional footage.
Mhm.
But over like the square footage,
Mhm.
overall, it's 2.6, which is I'm already paying taxes on it.
Mhm.
And so that's why I was advised to claim it since it didn't have one. But in the deed itself, it says additional footage. And so that was by my surveyor, which also stated that it's fine, lawfully.
So the fence that's currently in the back, you're just gonna move the same fence?
The same-
Move it back to the property line?
Yes, where the surveyor staked out on the survey.
fence, 6-foot fence, correct?
Yes, typical, it's a dog ear, I believe is, the standard. It meets the requirements of the 6 foot, wood, not painted or anything, it's just wood.
Madam Chair, if I may, one thing on the legal description, it does note that there's additional footage, but it does not describe the meets and bounds. It doesn't describe, what the acreage is, so just something for you guys to consider is, if the town wants to be involved with a potential dispute between the adjoining owner, whether that's their property or his. So just something to keep in mind.
So is that something, Dalton, as far as planning is concerned? Anything that, so, and that's something that you have?
That's what I submitted, which was highlighted by my attorney. The survey, like you said, it was updated. I believe it was like 1968 or something the last time there was. And then when I got a survey done, the surveyor had to do the survey from scratch because there was nothing to go off of. And so those were the papers that were submitted to public records of what his survey was completed, when it was completed and updated.
So then my question is that what we have, which was dated September of 2023, has that space labeled as unknown owner?
Yes, but the deed that was submitted to me when the purchase of the house, it said the additional footage. That's why my attorney told me to get a survey, because we were trying to figure that out. What is additional footage? What is additional footage? You don't know what that is until you have a survey, which the surveyor is got hired to do so, to come up with that footage.
So I guess I'll
Madam
just-
Chair, may I ask a question?
Please. Go right ahead.
I don't know if I should address this to you or the applicant, but I was just curious if the survey has been or is going to be recorded with the county or the courthouse. And the reason I ask that is on GIS, which is what planning operates off of, GIS has not been updated. And that's not to say that the survey hasn't been recorded. It could be, it hasn't made its way to the county GIS office. So I was just kind of curious to see where it is in the process for just a planning perspective.
I believe it's been recorded because the day of my closing at the attorney's office, that paperwork was, by the time before 100% the closing and the house was recorded, handed over to me as property of the owner. That is what I was told, that's been released to me. I'm not sure about the GIS, if that's been updated, but if I need to do that, me, myself, then that's what I'll do to make sure everybody's aware. So it's public record, so then, there's no misconception of any misinformation or anything.
Megan, this lady would like to speak, but you have to be sworn in before you can say anything, so.
Yes, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, the truth, so help you God?
I do. Okay. So what I was going to say, that survey that was done when he closed his home was recorded along with the other document for closing, which he has, and I have in my possession. I was his realtor. And it's recorded along together. He has even the title insurance for the property that includes that survey, which was the whole purpose of including the as part of the closing documents. And I cannot answer why it's not a GIS, but it's part of the deed. The survey is part of the deed, and it even has title insurance. In fact, Mr. Fernandez is already paying taxes on that land. Okay, it's 0.26 by the county. It's been paying taxes already, and the fact that it was just legally defined by a survey
concern is that we don't have that survey to show that he is the property owner of that space, is that correct?
So
He
the,
has it.
excuse me, ma'am, so the survey itself shows unknown owner. So the survey that they have had done doesn't show that he's the owner of it, it just says it's unknown. So there's a concern over the title and
It shows unknown owner because the previous owner never had a survey to include that land, just the additional footage. At least that's what the surveyor explained to us. And so he put that in there because he didn't, couldn't just say, the name, because it's never been recorded. It's the first time that additional footage was recorded as part of the property.
Gotcha.
And that's what he put there, and he explained that what he normally does that. We have the surveyor name, phone number, etc., but, it's being recorded as part of the property in the deed. And, in fact, I told them, the county has the deed report, I just cannot, answer why, GIS doesn't have that survey that also conveys the land. And with everything that was recorded that day, by the attorney. And we're not talking about a lot of land, we're talking about 0.01 acres. It's just some extra square footage, which is also described in the deed. The previous owner didn't have a survey, so that's all it is.
And I understand, even if it's a small piece of land, we don't want to,
I understand.
so as far as the wait time between submitting from the closing of a home to having everything updated so that it does show that he is the legal owner of that space, what is that turnaround time? No. Would it be appropriate if we approve the fence pending, I guess, processing and approval of that space to where it shows legally that he's the owner of that .01?
it's gonna be your discretion, but I would consider whether you wanna continue it, have that information confirmed. Or if you want to officially approve it. I did pull up the deed that's on record, and you've got the initial page, the signature page, and the exhibit A, which describes the property, but the survey is not attached.
Okay.
Just for,
The survey,
the board's consideration.
the survey is not normally shown in the deed as exhibit. But, when the property owner pays for title insurance, it will be part of that title. That's the whole purpose of doing the survey before you close, because after, you cannot include it as part of the insurance, the title insurance that you're paying. But I do have the alta, closing document, and it even shows the amount that he paid for title insurance and everything else to include that survey, the deed of trust. If you want to see it.
No, you're fine. I'm good. Did y'all want to see? I think my biggest hesitation is just waiting for it to be completely on
To show up in
paper,
GIS.
legally, that would be part of your property. Just so we don't make any mistakes. Could be, yes. Or conditional.
I don't know how long it would take here in Wayne County. I'm more familiar with Wayne County. It's the term maybe up to 3 months. Wayne County, maybe up to 2 months. I don't know how long it would be. It should be there because it happened last September.
Any other questions?
I just have a small question.
Yes, sir.
Since I fenced that, would I have to reapply if I continue to do repairs on the fence? Or it's just, if I do get approved for the fence, would I have to resubmit to keep working on the fence, following the same guidelines?
Like, as far as, what would you need to do more to the fence?
I think it's like, the original fence is made out of like some kind of like plastic. And it's like very light and brittle. And so the wind has been like knocking some pieces out. And so that's why I turned on to the wooden one, so I would have issues like that. But that's the original fence. I just repaired a couple of spots. But if I were to continue all the way around
would I have to resubmit something saying, hey, just so I don't, cause any issues with the guidelines of the historic change or anything like that? Yeah, to change the appearance, I guess. But, so I'm just going with the same fence.
And if you're not doing anything to change the appearance, if you're using, the same materials and that sort of thing, you wouldn't need to reapply, no, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I need a motion to accept the testimonies as presented.
Motion. I'll second.
Motion by Florence, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye. And now I need a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Jeanette, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Discussion. Any thoughts? Report.
More money. Fence is expensive.
Anything else? Ms. Lacy, you good with that? Anything else you'd like to add? All right, so, would you like to make a motion? Okay. To
I second. To continue.
continue.
Second.
And then second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for the 100 block on South Rayford Street. Is anybody here to represent the 100 block on South Rayford Street, which is, South Rayford?
Which is what?
South of for the historic Johnson County. Historic, for the big sign. Okay, sure. So we will swear in Chief and Miss Oxley again.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
I believe y'all have, all the information in front of you, picture of the historic site. This was, something that came to us a couple months ago. Originally funded from the tourism committee through the historic commission of the county. And it's, y'all probably seen these signs around. We have several of them in town and all around the county that do a really good job just marking some type of historical person, place, or something like that. This one is actually, everybody knows the building over here is the Vic building, or where they supposedly invented it. But evidently he had a drugstore as well, and his home was on the side of what we would call the ABC store now. So this will be a downtown historical marker. There's a sign there right now saying this hearing's here tonight, but it's for reference I would say it's the flower bed in front of the pet shop is where it would be. And you have a picture of the size, it talks about the size and the picture and the wording on it. So, it'll say something along the lines approximately 100 feet to the, whatever it says, y'all can read it. That's where this was. So, cool thing for downtown. Can I answer any more questions with you?
When I was reading over it, do you know why they chose the word druggist
I do not.
versus pharmacist?
I do not.
Okay. Oh, I did not. I'm so sorry.
Whoops. I gotta repeat all that now.
Blame chief. Okay, so we need to make a motion to open the quasi judicial hearing. Motion.
That's second.
Motion by Florence, second by Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, and then, except what you got. Ms. Oxley, did you have anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, now we're on that track. Okay. And then as far as the location, chief, do you know why they chose, I'm sorry, that flower bed in front of the pet shop?
Other than he told me just, when I talked to him, I think they had chosen the spot, with the feet. They wanted it definitely be on Rayford Street, because it's more walkable than 301, sidewalk. And I do not know why he picked that particular spot other than maybe it's dirt versus,
Concrete.
concrete.
Okay.
He had two spots picked, One was on Railroad Street, and one was on this spot. And they decided on the Railroad Street spot.
Do you remember on Railroad Street where you picked?
It was down toward the, barber shop. But it was on the other side of the road. Which obviously that's not really a very good walkable area.
Thank you, sir. You guys have any other questions? Let me start our discussion. Like the, yeah. Template. All right, I need a motion to accept the testimony as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeanette, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lacy, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, one thing I didn't like about the sign is that they referred to Mr.
Drug.
Richardson as a druggist. And so I did a little bit of research, and druggist and pharmacist are a synonym. And I think pharmacist has
Sounds better.
sounds a little bit better, in my opinion. So I'd like to see them change that to a pharmacist instead of a druggist. Do you see that page, Ms. Lacy? Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
59.
Page 59.
Yes, that's right.
Hmm.
The building's on South Nancy Street.
But no, they want to put it on South Rayford Street,
Oh, okay.
right in front of the pet shop. There's like a small
I'm with you 100%.
dirt space.
Okay.
The other thing is looking at that space on Google and even just walking by, it's a really small dirt space. There's a bush there and there's already a light pole, a street pole. So just aesthetically looking at it, it seems like it'd be very crowded in that space. I understand having it in a walkable area, but at the same time, we don't want to clutter South Rayford Street, especially with all the new foot traffic that they're seeing down on that side. Coy, thoughts? Right now, it's just the one possible area. I think they chose, according to what Chief said, they chose the South Rayford Street space because if it was on Railroad Street, it would be on the side of the railroad, and that's not the walkable space. Locations. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Let's see.
Did I not close it? I closed it. Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Motion by McCoy, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, next up, we have a certificate of appropriateness for 106 South Massey Street. Is there anybody here to, perfect, yes, come on up. Welcome. Megan will swear you in.
I do too.
All right, I need a motion to open the quasi judicial hearing for 106 South Massey Street?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lacy, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor? Aye. All right, floor is yours.
We are requesting approval of a storage built on our property. I believe the measurements are 12 by 24 with 4 windows in the back and 1 in the front with 1 double door. I believe it would be 74 by 80 inches with vinyl siding to match the residency, the property already in there. And it's gonna be laying on concrete.
All right, Ms. Oxley?
Yes, ma'am. When we did the staff report, we didn't have as much information, and I had a concern about what type of not a concern, but I didn't know what type of materials were going to be used. I think the applicant has provided a little more information on that on page 82 of my packet, and a few zoning issues that we might have to work out at permitting, because like I said, with a prior hearing, applicants will come to you for guidance on the historic element, but they'll still have to come to the planning department and pass zoning. And there was some initial concerns that I don't think we can't necessarily work around, but they will definitely be giving some attention to that. And I try to give you a little bit of that information to just be transparent, just so you know if the building doesn't go up, that might be the reason why. But I think that can be set aside as a planning matter. And then what remains is my only concern is, do you have enough information in terms of sample materials and aesthetics and what the building is going to look like in order to make your decision?
Do you have a picture of the shed that you intend to purchase?
We're gonna be building it
Okay.
from scratch.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be regular vinyl siding, shingles on the roof.
Do you have a sketch of what it's gonna look like?
No, I don't. What else would you need to?
So we need as much information as you can provide as far as what the building will look like. You know, as far as, you know, you said how many windows and what the doors and all that stuff, but kind of what that would look like, to make sure that it matches kind of what the historic district is looking at. As far as the vinyl siding, is there any other material that you would be willing to use? I know the home is vinyl siding, but that doesn't fit the historic standards. Would you be open to doing wood siding? Open to doing that, okay. And then what, the color of what the building would look like? Yeah, okay.
Be the same.
The main house, okay, and then the roofing that you would use, would it be the same as the house as well?
Correct.
Okay. Other questions for our applicants?
It's a storage shed?
Correct. No electricity.
You did say it's cement flooring.
Correct.
Lacey, you good? Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. May I have a motion to accept the testimonies as presented?
My motion.
said second? Is that you, Ms. Lacy? Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Lacy. All those in favor? Aye. And then a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing. Motion by Ms. Jeanette, second by Ms. Lacy. All those in favor? Aye. All right, discussion.
Look at the interlock.
Hmm?
Look at the interlock.
No, ma'am, it's, go ahead.
It's the houses there. They're just needing, they will have permanent storage. I just wondered.
Do you know the address?
Or 106 Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So I think based on, just the information presented, just wanting to see a little bit more information to make sure we're 100% clear on what we're voting on. My suggestion would be to continue it so they do not have to reapply. And just when you guys are ready, come back and we'll look over everything that you've got and discuss it from there.
Second.
So a motion to continue the certificate of appropriateness for 106 South Massey Street.
Very much.
And then a second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor? Aye, thank you. All right. We have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for 406 North Green Street. Is anybody here to represent 406 North Green Street? Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well. Miss Megan will need to swear you in.
Right? Yes.
Left hand Bible and then raise your right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
I do as well.
All right, and may I have a motion to open the quasi judicial hearing for 406 North Green Street?
A second.
Motion by Ms. Jeanette, second by Ms. Florence. All those in favor? Aye. The floor is yours.
Hi. So basically what we want to do on that property is make the porch, front porch bigger, extend it towards the street. I don't know if you guys had the sketch that we dropped off at the office. I don't know if it's detailed enough for you guys to understand.
Yes.
I labeled the, material we will be using, the approximate cost of, the labor and the material. We would do it on our own. We wouldn't hire nobody.
Good?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Oxley?
Yes, ma'am. When we did the staff report, we didn't have the sketch that's submitted on page 91 of my packet. And that helped with some of the questions that staff had. For example, the first point regarding the footprint, now that we see that the porch is to extend 9 feet from the house, that's not so much as a concern. And just kind of on a similar thread of the last hearing that you just had, just a concern, making sure that you have enough information to make a decision this evening. From a zoning standpoint, and from a planning UDO standpoint, nothing jumps out at us as an issue at this point. Still have to go through formal permitting, of course, but nothing of concern that would halt you from having a decision this evening.
So it's labeled in the sketch. I'm looking to tell. So it's gonna be basically a concrete slab, and we're obviously going to reinforce it with columns on each corner. If we might need to add a next one in the middle, because it is about 12 feet long. We are going to use the metal roof, the same one to match that. And we would paint the columns. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes. I think we're gonna, I'm not sure on that one, but if we do buy, like big trusses or columns, maybe keep that wood looking. Depending on what type of columns we get. If it's something that looks maybe rough, maybe paint it. But I think we might go with the painting, most likely.
What color's your house?
It's brick,
Oh, it's brick.
yes,
You plan to do the building yourself?
yes.
What's in the area?
So I would say, you know, we need to at least nail down, the color. Yes, I would say we need to have color.
What's in the area?
As far as the,
Color.
I mean, I think there's a greenhouse near y'all, correct?
So the greenhouse is
There we go.
further down. Yes, there you go. That-
Thank you, Dalton.
Perfect. Yeah, so the old columns we have on that small roof porch is white. So that's what we would stick to.
So is the current porch, does it extend, it's 9 feet, is that correct? Are you just widening it? Like, help me understand what
That's the
changed.
current porch now.
Correct.
So if you see from window to window,
Mm-hmm.
that's how the new porch would look.
I got you, but it wouldn't extend any further out than where the steps are right now.
So yes, maybe about 3 more feet.
Past the steps?
Yes, ma'am. Maybe around where the vehicle starts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that metal?
No. So are you replacing your entire roof?
So that's the old roof.
Correct.
The new roof now.
Oh, you already have a new roof?
Yes, ma'am.
I got you.
The new roof now is a metal roof,
Uh-huh.
red color.
Uh-huh.
And we plan on matching the same for the porch. The porch.
Okay. And then as far as how the porch is done right now, it's got the brick and the concrete. Are you gonna do the exact same thing across?
So that's where I don't know if you guys were gonna understand. So it's not gonna be. So that's about maybe maximum 1.5 foot. So 2 steps.
Mm-hmm.
We wanna add the steps on the door and just have that concrete slab.
Add the
So-
steps on the door?
Yes.
Are you saying
Or-
it's just gonna be a flat?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah,
ma'am.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And just keep the steps right at the door.
Okay. And it'll just be a concrete slab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna put a roof over top of it to cover that concrete slab?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
And you said
Yes, correct.
it's going from window to window.
Yeah, so that's about it's about the 12 feet. Yeah, from window to windows the 12 feet. Yeah, we measured it.
Weren't we talking about paint color? Yeah, he said he was gonna keep the white.
Yes.
And where will the 3 columns go that you got, that you stated?
So we'll start from window as well, and we're most likely gonna have to add the middle one right at the middle, right about the door.
So you're gonna have a column in front of the door?
I'm still debating on that, but I might have to add 2 more. That way we don't have right at the middle.
So we're talking 4 columns.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So probably those 2 columns that are currently there, and then 2 additional columns by the window.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still debating with my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
He's a carpenter, so he suggested putting one in the middle, but that would have blocked the walkway.
Mm-hmm.
I know for sure if we put a strong beam from column to column, nothing should happen.
Mhm.
And, just reinforcing it correctly.
So what he's saying is that he would, and correct me if I'm wrong, lower it, and then so you would walk onto the concrete slab and then the steps to the door. Yep. Because you would have to keep the same aesthetic, yes. Chief, anything about the construction of it as far as like the columns or anything?
I mean, it would, that size, it would still be a build permit process.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be inspected, make sure that, and I think he's right, that the big land, the beams, when I call them,
Yeah.
the engineer, he may not even need to.
Okay. Gotcha.
That would go to that plan review process.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion to accept testimonies as presented.
A second.
Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye. And then a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing.
Motion closed. Second.
Motion by Ms. Jeanette, second by Ms. Lacy. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Discussion.
No, the house next door to me has something.
I think, if we approve this, I think we can do, either 2 or 4 wooden columns, because on here it says 3. Mhm. Yeah, just when we make a motion, just be very clear about what is approved in that certificate of appropriateness. Yep. All right, so I need a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness, with the conditions that there are 2 or 4 wooden columns that will be painted white, a metal roof that will match the existing home, and that the platform is concrete with brick steps leading up to the stairs.
He said that they would have.
They do, but they would have to change, they would have to,
Extend.
yes, because they're extending the roof of the porch to match it.
My motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Florence, second by Ms. Lacy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for 305 West Waddell Street.
Everyone?
And then Laura, are you presenting any staff report?
I'm not presenting a staff report on this application.
We're on page 93. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, just reapplying, or I don't know. I just want trying to build a 1,900 square foot house right over here on Water Street. Probably I have the picture. It's a beautiful bungalow. Material that we're going to be using is going to be hardy board. It's going to be also not on a slab. It's going to be cross space with bricks, everything. So I don't think I have any questions.
the application says, 1,656 square feet.
No, man, those, blueprint that was submitted, it was for 1944. Exactly, 1944, man.
You. Just wanna make sure we're good.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. Chief, did you have something you
I
wanted to
just
present?
wanted to I'm gonna give a,
Staff report?
staff report.
Yes, sir.
The main thing I think besides what you said, this is previously approved in 2021, Indiana CLA, I guess, got your email. It all slowed down, and, this is just a reapplication to renew that CLA. So that I think, yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Gill?
What kind of siding does it have?
It would have a hardy board.
Hardwood,
Yes, ma'am.
kind of roof?
It would be shingles. Would you like to see a picture of it?
I would love to.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Is it gonna be that color?
Yes, ma'am.
Nice color.
Put it for sale if you want.
1823 now.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gill. Are you good? Any questions for Mr. Gill? All right, thank you, sir.
Welcome, ma'am.
All right, may I have a motion to accept the testimonies as presented?
Second.
Motion by Jeanette, second by Florence. All those in favor? Aye. Do I have a motion to close the quasi judicial hearings?
So moved.
What did you say? She said so moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lacy, second by Florence. All those in favor? Aye. Any discussion? What discussion? Do I hear a motion? Nope. To approve. There we go.
Second.
Motion, by McCoy, second by Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye. All right. We have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for 100 North Rayford Street. Megan, we'll need to swear you in.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Walker. I'm the owner of Hatchet Brewing Company. We're currently in the process of conducting construction right across the street, 100 North Rayford, in order to establish a tap room and a small arcade in the back space. If I remember correctly, these 2 points of order. First is the air duct venting. So that was a requirement by our coding. It was a coding requirement. We had to create a fresh air intake for HVAC system. And then in accordance with the SHPO, so the State Historic Preservation Office, we had to do that in a specific manner in order to not jeopardize the building any more than absolutely necessary. So originally there was a window in the front of the building which was obscured by a pillar. We were able to pull that out, or we are able to pull that out and put a louver there, and then run ductwork along the interior of the building, approximately 18 inches from the interior itself to the HVAC system. So that was the first point for the co-op. Had any questions or comments? That's all I have for that one.
Chief, did you have something? Does anybody have any questions for? Oh, there's two.
Yeah, so that's the second point of order, would be the sign. We're looking to put an exterior sign just to identify the location of the building. We did that based off the tenants in the UDO, and so we adjusted the sizing and whatnot in accordance with that based on the advice we've gotten from the city. That is, as far as timeline, that would be installed probably within 2 to 3 weeks of it getting approved. But we're finalizing all that based off of your feedback. So it would be a lit sign, and it's a standard blade sign, so it'll be double-sided and approximately 10 inches in width.
And I apologize if I missed this. Where's the air duct going?
The air duct, as you're looking at the entrance of the building, it's behind the pillar to the immediate left
So it'll
of
be
the.
behind something. Okay.
Truly, you can't really see it, I would say. From the sidewalk, you really can't see it. You have to kind of, yeah.
No, it's there. Okay.
Sign application, like I said, staff, just meets the size regulations, doesn't break any of the codes, and, it's gonna be.
I appreciate that.
Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, well, there's a, I don't know, there's a drawing.
There's a mock-up and a drawing.
Ah, yep.
Yeah, there's a drawing there. It's, if you can imagine, the crease is really,
Yep.
it's not directly straight out, it's on the corner. This will be kind of the same way, it's gonna be facing the intersection, so it'll be visible both ways. I think it's, nice, and I would compare between creases and maybe between empties. That style of, slid, it's gonna draw attention, makes me nice vision.
Chief, what building?
This is the old town hall, the old bank,
Okay.
that we were in. They're renovating this for a tavern called Hatchet. The building's been bought, but Hatchet.
Yes, sir.
They're, this, what, y'all get close.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Get close. So this is just advertising.
And the sign is going on with Anderson Street.
Yes, ma'am, right on the corner. The very
Yes, corner of Rayford.
And Anderson, okay.
Tell me that where old interstate sign was? That reservoir?
It's right here. Right there.
Oh, okay. Wrong road.
About 10 years here, town hall.
Oh, okay. I remember the courthouse.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to accept the testimonies as presented?
Motion.
No second. Motion by Jeanette, second by Florence. All those in favor? Aye. Do I have a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Florence, we're gonna give that one to McCoy. Second by Ms. McCoy. All those in favor? Aye. All right, discussion. I think, cause it's pretty, like Chief said, it's gonna match the vibe of Creech's Drug and Hempy's, and that air duct is gonna be tucked away. I think it'll be good. All right, so do we have a motion to accept the certificate of appropriateness as presented?
Motion.
Motion by Florence, second by Jeanette. All those in favor? Aye.
Eight free drinks.
That's close.
Thanks, bring folks down.
That's right. All right, last but not least, we have our appearance-related discussion. Dalton? Okay. Sure. Absolutely.
How about people's yards?
When is that?
Somebody might know some high school students.
How about some people's yards?
Well, we got to say public property. But if y'all know any groups that would like to make this, about 30, 40 feet. So we
What's
can really
the date?
spread out because we do have a little problem. And we're working on it as heavy as we can be. But, those answers for the past couple of days, I'm gonna deal with it if I can get certain.
Yeah.
So, really like to get a lot of people so we can get. Main streets, 'cause that's where it's at. People litter bad in there, so, you can't make roads. So if anybody knows any, Girl Scouts, churches,
Well, they used to have kids with a community service or something like that for credit. School.
If you could just email it to me when you get a chance, I'll get that information out.
I think he's already got a, flyer out.
Okay.
Sure have anybody. City church.
We still working on our flowers along the road.
We did, Confidential. Bill Works is, we put it on, we have put that. Pat and I can.
What about the houses for?
The
cleaning?
beautification
Yes.
awards, okay. We had talked about doing those quarterly.
What?
The beautification awards.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. So, we haven't necessarily, I guess, defined how they're selected. But basically, there is a home, a residence, and a business that is highlighted for just their beautification, like how they're maintaining their outdoor appearance. And then there's a sign that goes in their yard to celebrate them for that space. They get, celebrated on Facebook or different places like that. They get a plaque, yep, get a plaque signed by the mayor.
Really good work for them.
So yes, we work on that for sure.
Yeah,
Anything else?
I just want us to do it.
One time.
they're a mess.
All right, anything else as far as appearance is concerned?
This
You,
is
just want to make, maybe a spot you can see a lot of this. She had this rock, fire trees, this, and we got to think that just extended that out, good partnership. She had actually owned that building. We got to split the cost of it. Not quite split half, but we had a portion, and we had. It's pretty. Let's check it out.
Okay.
All right, we do not have, any business for a closed session, so I just need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Barnes, second by Ms. Jeanette. All those in favor?